Hey guys, welcome to CakeWalk Cambridge. I'm Aisha and today we're going to start with chapter 15, drugs. Um, so we're getting really close to the end right now. We finished 2/3 of our syllabus already and that's brilliant. Now this last third is going to be long and monotonous and difficult. Yeah, I'm not demotivating you here, but I promise you once we get through it, we'll do it really well and you won't find it as difficult as when you just started, okay? Um, this chapter is one that will make a lot of sense to all of you because it's got a lot of general knowledge and stuff that you already know about drugs. And for those who love bacteria and the way drugs work at a synapse, this chapter is perfect for you. We've already covered a huge concept in this chapter in chapter 14. So I'm going to be revisiting the topic here so you don't have to go back and forth videos and everything. So yeah, you should already be well versed with the topic. If you've not done chapter 14 in school yet, this video is perfect for you. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so what is a drug? So a drug is basically any substance taken into the body that modifies or affects chemical reactions in the body. Okay, so basically a drug, the first thing I'm pretty sure for most of you guys, especially since we're all teenagers, I'm 16, you guys will be 14, 15. The first one that comes to your mind when you think of drug will probably be cocaine, heroin, ecstasy, morphine, all of these things. But a drug could also be medicinal or performance enhancing. So there are three types of drugs: medicinal drugs, performance enhancing drugs, and drugs that are taken to like make you feel pleasure or whatever, like heroin, cocaine. That's basically misused drugs. Okay. So basically a drug is any substance that is taken into the body, you get 1 mark for that, that modifies or affects chemical reactions in the body. Okay, so that's your 2nd mark. Now we're going to look at how it affects these chemical reactions later. We're going to look at the effect of heroin on the body later at a synapse. Okay, so yeah, let's get continuing. Let's get moving. Yeah. Okay, so antibiotics and bacteria. So very often when you have like when you don't feel well, you go to the doctor and they prescribe antibiotics for you, right? So basically an antibiotic is used to treat bacterial infections. Now here's the difference: they do not treat viral infections, they treat bacterial infections, and I'll explain why. Antibiotics act on the cell wall or a cell membrane of a cell. So I'm just going to draw like a random cell here. Okay, like this is a cell. Okay, this is your nucleus, this is your cytoplasm, this is your cell membrane. Okay, so the antibiotic attaches itself to this cell membrane, okay, over here. Okay, and it may kind of disrupt the cell membrane or the cell wall basically. Okay, and it has an effect on the cell membrane in such a way that it either prevents the cell from multiplying, the bacterial cell from multiplying, or it prevents the bacterial cell from living. So it basically kills the bacterial cell. Okay, so there are two types of antibiotics. Those that prevent them from multiplying are bacteriostatic, and those that kill the bacteria are bactericidal. These two terms come in chapter 20, which is basically biotechnology. And I have not seen it as a syllabus requirement, but I always like remembering terms like this because it helps, it elevates your answer, it elaborates details, and I find it's good to portray your knowledge to the examiner. It shows that you've actually like taken trouble to study your syllabus. So I suggest you memorize these two, and they're not even difficult, really. Okay, so as I said before, they can be used to treat bacterial infections. Okay, now because they attach themselves to cell walls and cell membranes. Okay, so that means so all living organisms have cell walls or cell membranes. Now viruses are not living organisms. They do not have a cell wall or cell membrane. Okay, so so antibiotics need to act on living organisms. Okay, now since viruses are not living organisms, antibiotics cannot um, act on viruses. Okay, that is basically the thing. That is basically how it works. They need to, so basically this could come for like a 2-mark question. Why don't antibiotics work on viruses? One, viruses are not living, and two, they do not have a cell wall or cell membrane. Okay, that's basically how it works. Okay, now some bacteria are resistant to antibiotics, which reduces the effectiveness of antibiotics. Okay, now this I'm going to explain in this flow chart here. Okay, this is extremely important. Okay, so what exactly is resistance? Like when you have your chapters to do with plants, very often you say that that a plant is disease resistant or drought resistant. Okay, so what exactly is disease resistant? That is when a plant is immune to the substance, to the organism that causes the disease, and so doesn't catch the disease, so doesn't exhibit symptoms of the disease. Okay, it is immune and like protected. Okay, that's what resistance is. Okay, the disease has no effect on the organism. So here bacteria can become resistant to an antibiotic. Okay. So now how does it work? So you have a colony of bacteria, you apply an antibiotic. I'm just going to explain it with one antibiotic. You apply an antibiotic to the bacteria. What happens is a gene mutation may occur. A mutation may occur in part of the colony of bacteria, let's say in 1% of the bacteria, okay? And this mutation will lead it to become resistant. Okay, now basically what is a mutation? A mutation is the change in the base sequence of DNA, okay? So DNA is basically made up of a long strand of bases, correct? And amino acids and like nucleotides. So there may be a mutation, that is this pattern may change and it may change for the better for the bacteria. So the bacteria will actually be able to resist the effect of the antibiotic, this one bacteria. Okay. Now, if the same antibiotic is applied to this same population of bacteria, the bacteria that has undergone the mutation will survive, correct? And the bacteria that haven't undergone the mutation will be killed by the antibiotic. So the bacteria that survive will continue to reproduce. Okay, so when it reproduces, there's going to be a greater proportion of resistant bacteria to non-resistant bacteria. Okay, and this cycle repeats until the full population is resistant to the antibiotic, and that is how bacteria becomes resistant. Okay, so you need to be able to like state the events, this cycle. Okay, and now this is going to tell you how to prevent resistance. So basically, one is you use antibiotics only when necessary, because if you keep overusing them, natural selection will occur and there'll be mutations that occur much quicker and the bacteria will get resistant again. So you use them only when vital. You complete the full course of antibiotics. So supposing your doctor has told you to take antibiotics for 4 weeks, and by the time it's your third and a half week, you feel you're fine and you don't require antibiotics, you shouldn't stop. You should complete it till the fourth week, because these doctors have tried and tested the antibiotics and they know the exact duration and time period for which they should be consumed. Okay, because a little more and a little less will lead to bacteria becoming resistant. Okay, so you should complete your full course of antibiotics. I'm just going to explain this to you with Goldilocks and the three bears. Not too big, not too small, just right. Everything has to be just right. Okay, you have to take your antibiotics till the time your doctor has prescribed it. Then your third solution is to innovate and invent more antibiotics, okay, to prevent resistance. And the fourth one is to combine antibiotics, like you take a combination of two, like a mixture of two, okay, depending on what your symptoms are. Okay, so these are basically the points that I used to remember for my exam, and I think it comes for like max to max 3 to 4 marks. Sorry, there's an airplane. They're flying all over, so you can hear them loudly. Okay. But when you solve papers, the more you solve, you go through mark schemes, you'll see these answers, okay, like in bullet points. I suggest you copy down these bullet points, but never state your answer in a bullet points, okay? Always like elaborate and explain, like a one-line explanation will do, or write it in a paragraph, never in bullet points, okay? Okay, now we get to the misused drugs, okay? That's alcohol and heroin. Okay, so yeah, so basically alcohol is a depressant drug, which means that it increases your reaction time and reduces your self-control. These three go hand in hand, okay? So now to explain this, I'm going to give you an example of Rachel from Friends in season 2. I'm not, you should have watched it, you're a teenager, so yeah. So basically, when she drunk calls Ross and leaves him a message about her feelings for him, it's basically when she's under the influence of alcohol. So her self-control is reduced. So she knows that she shouldn't be confessing her feelings to him because it's wrong, but she still confesses her feelings to him because there's lack of self-control. She doesn't have that. So basically, it's like she can't stop herself from doing it. Okay, and she's basically drunk. So her reaction time is increased. So everything that she's doing is going to take more time for her to process. Okay. Alcohol does cause addiction. If you probably I'm going to give you an example of Matthew Perry, who acted as Chandler in Friends. He basically, in real life, in season 2 or 3, he was addicted to alcohol, and so there were a lot of problems caused due to that. So I'm always going to tell you, addiction is never really good. Okay, yeah, that's a problem. So the negative impacts of alcohol. So basically when you are so basically first you consume alcohol, you reduce your self-control, increase your reaction time, then soon you consume it more, you get addicted to it. That is, you constantly need to have it, you need to be consuming it to like calm yourself down, or you use it as a coping mechanism. Then after that you kind of spend all your money on it. Like, I'm gonna look at it from like a teenager's point of view or an average person. Soon you lose the money to consume the alcohol, so you turn to crime to fund the purchase of alcohol. So that's one negative impact, negative social impact of alcohol. Then it leads to abuse. When people get drunk, they tend to become more aggressive and violent. Then it could lead to vandalism. You're basically you've lost self-control. So that is one. And then divorce. Your spouse would probably not like the way you're acting, and very often alcohol is the reason for most problems in marriages that lead to divorce. So that could lead to divorce. Now we're going to look at heroin. Heroin also is a depressant. It also increases your reaction time and reduces self-control. It is addictive and so has the same social negative impacts. Okay, it's basically the same, but heroin is a so basically heroin is a drug. Okay, so now, okay, now so you need to also be able to state the withdrawal symptoms of both alcohol and heroin. So I've come up with an acronym for the withdrawal symptoms. If you have heard, you must have heard, Blank Space by Taylor Swift. One line in the song is New Money, Suit and Ties. I can read you like a magazine. So here your acronym is New Money, Suit and Die. Okay, Die, D-Y-E. So it's basically nausea, muscle cramps, sweating, anxiety, difficulty sleeping. Okay, that's the full form of the acronym. I found this really cute when I made it up. Okay, so new money, suit, and die. Okay, the other withdrawal symptoms. Nausea is when you feel like puking or throwing up. Muscle cramps are like these where you feel contractions. Okay, you feel cramps. So cramps are basically caused when lactic acid is produced in your body. So I'll give you an example. So when you consume too much of heroin, you start respiring anaerobically, and this causes lactic acid to be produced. It builds up in the muscles, lowers blood pH, and causes muscle cramps. Sweating, you know what sweating is. Anxiety is when you're like always anxious and insecure, and like you feel like you could be like it's basically psychological effect it has on the body. And difficulty sleeping, self-explanatory. Okay, then you also need to be able to state that injecting heroin can cause infections such as HIV. So basically, heroin is injected in the body. To inject, you need needles. Needles are used to inject, okay? So basically, when you're injecting heroin, you're using needles. If two people use the same needles, which has infected blood like HIV, HIV is human immunodeficient human immunodeficiency virus. Yes. So if you use the needle that someone who's HIV positive has also used, then you're probably at the potential threat of getting HIV yourself, because it is a sexually transmitted disease, okay, which is passed through body fluids. And the second thing you need to be able to state is that excessive alcohol consumption can cause liver damage. So basically, the liver is the site where toxins and alcohol are broken down. The liver uses oxygen to aerobically break down alcohol to release carbon dioxide and water. Okay, so when you consume too much alcohol, the liver has to break down more alcohol. This alcohol has an effect on the liver, okay, and this causes cirrhosis, where the liver doesn't work efficiently anymore, and this could lead to kidney failure. So yeah. Okay, now the short-term effects of alcohol, you have vomiting, okay, impaired judgment and violent behavior. Impaired judgment is basically when you're not sure of what you're doing. Okay, that's you don't really make the best choices at that time. Then impaired balance and muscle control, as you can see, like when you watch shows or whatever, characters who are drunk usually are like really loose and floppy, and they don't really know what they're doing, so that's what happens. And then sleepiness, okay, and unconsciousness when consumed in large quantities. Long-term effects, addiction is one, damages the brain is one, and it could cause cirrhosis, where it damages the liver, as I explained before. Okay, now this is how heroin works. I've already gone through this before, but I'm still gonna go through it again, so I hope this helps you. Okay, so basically, yeah. So basically, you have different neurotransmitters in the body, okay, that are released by vesicles, okay? And then there are endorphins that are a group of neurotransmitters that are also received by vesicles. Endorphins usually give a feeling of pleasure and satisfaction. Okay, so when you smile, smiling is what releases endorphins and that makes you happy. So even if you're like totally sad and you decide to like smile, you somehow feel better. Trust me, it's a fact. Okay. So basically, what happens is heroin is metabolized to morphine, okay, and this morphine binds itself. It diffuses across the synaptic cleft and binds itself to endorphin receptors. Okay, so this, let's say, is an endorphin receptor. I'm just gonna write end here. Endorphin receptor, and it gives the same um, feeling that endorphins give you. That is, it gives you a high feeling. You feel pleasure and you feel satisfied, and that is why those who consume heroin um, feel like really good about themselves. And basically, these morphine molecules bind to neurotransmitter receptors, bind to receptor molecules. Okay, and what happens is it blocks other neurotransmitter molecules from binding. So that's why it's a depressant. So you don't feel pain or any like sad feelings because your heroin is like blocking those feelings out. Okay, yeah. Okay, so now you should be able to state that the liver, as mentioned before, is the site of breakdown for toxins and alcohol. Tobacco smoking can cause three diseases: COPD, lung cancer, and CHD. You can write the short forms in your papers, no problem. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is caused by the combination of two diseases, emphysema and chronic bronchitis. Chronic bronchitis is basically when your goblet cells enlarge and this causes them to secrete more mucus. This damages the cilia in your airways. The cilia is not able to move or beat to and fro to move mucus away. This thick mucus that covers your lining. Okay, and so this causes a smoker's cough where the person always feels like coughing. Okay, and your gas exchange is not efficient anymore. And emphysema is basically when your airways become inflamed and alveolar burst. Okay, and this causes a reduced surface area for gas exchange. Okay, so that's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And then you have lung cancer and coronary heart disease, which we have already looked at before, coronary heart disease. So basically, very often in your theory papers, they ask you to state the names of two diseases that are caused by tobacco smoking, and they usually state this one. So your other two are always going to be this one and this one. Okay, don't forget. Then you have three chemicals in cigarettes. One is tar. Tar is a carcinogen that causes cancer. Nicotine is an addictive substance which narrows blood vessels. And carbon monoxide reduces the oxygen carrying capacity of red blood cells. You just have to be able to mug these three up. Okay, very often you're asked to state these three in like the same format. So don't forget this. Okay, just don't. Please don't. And yeah, that was basically it. And now the last type of drugs. So we've already discussed medicinal drugs and we have discussed misused drugs. Now we will go for performance enhancing drugs. Okay. So so basically there is a hormone called testosterone which is produced by the testis in males. The testis is the sexual reproductive part of a male. So testosterone is responsible for the secondary sexual characteristics of males. That is, it causes an increase in muscle mass, increase in strength, increase in like aggression, and it basically allows, it increases the stamina. So a boy typically is able to play for longer and a more intense period of time than a girl. And I'm not being sexist here, I'm a huge feminist, but usually that is the build of a boy. It's because of testosterone that they have that like edge. If a girl continues to work hard and is very fit, a girl can definitely outrun or out like um, beat a boy at a race or football game or anything, but this is typically how testosterone works, okay? So yeah, these are the effects that you should know. Muscle mass, strength, increased training diet. So many athletes, typically women, okay, this is not, it's not typically women, but there's an example of a woman in my textbook who uses this. So basically many athletes inject testosterone into their body so they have this advantage over other athletes. Now, the problem with this is that it is unethical. Okay, it's not right because your ability to play a sport and the whether you win or not, it should depend on your natural talent and the way you worked, and not for this unfair edge you have over others. Okay, but that's artificial. So basically, it is unethical, and the problem is that it can ruin the reputation of both the player and the brand that ambassadors the player, and the brand that endorses the player. Okay, and the brand the player endorses. Okay, I am so sorry. Okay, yeah. So basically, yeah, that's it. So these are called anabolic steroids. Now, why they call anabolic steroids? Because this causes anabolic reactions to occur. Okay, so anabolic reactions are building up reactions that cause an increase in muscle mass, as I already stated here. Okay, so now these are the serious side effects. That is one, increased risk of heart disease, two, increased risk of liver damage, increased risk of kidney damage, affects the menstrual cycle in women. Now, basically, testosterone is a hormone that is produced in males for males, typically meant for males. So, for women takes this in, it's obviously going to affect her because she's a female. Okay, it's not meant for her, so it will affect the menstrual cycle. Okay, and it decreases the ability of the immune system to destroy pathogens because it is messing up with your system because it's not supposed so the basically injecting testosterone means you're putting it in a place that it's not meant to be in. Okay, so these are the very serious side effects of testosterone in the body, that is performance enhancing drugs. There are many other drugs, but in your syllabus you are just supposed to know the effects of testosterone. So basically that was chapter 15. I hope this video helped you. If it did, please like this video, comment down if you have any suggestions, subscribe to my channel, share this video with a friend who you think it might benefit, and you can always feel free to email me. I'll drop down my email below. I hope this helped you, and yes, we will get through this together.